Howdy folks, it's Angel the Hunting Gear Guy. This is the Ternion International T870. This is the T870. And I also have the T870-1, which is their police model that has an upper rail and roller coaster sight on the back here for lobbing slugs at long range, pistol grip, stock, etc., etc. So let's take a closer look at this thing. I'm going to start with the T870. So this one's closer to like a Remington 870 Express, and in fact, a lot of the parts are completely interchangeable. I got my buddy to send me his 870, which is right here. And I actually needed this for a couple of things. I wanted to shoot one of these at a 3-gun match to, you know, kind of see how the shotgun would run at a match. I always find that, you know, if you just go to the range and you're just poking around, that's one thing, but shooting at an actual match, that's when things kind of fall down and we start having issues. So I got that 870 and I started swapping and swatching parts around just to see kind of what's compatible. Extension tubes work just fine. The bolt carrier trigger groups, those all swapped between the 870 and this one. The Ternion pump bolt action carrier went into 870, but it didn't go the other way. I think the pump on the Ternion one just goes a little bit further. And Magpul 870 stocks, all that kind of stuff like moved over fairly easily. The barrels, like the lug's actually in a different place on this one. So this one, the lug is a little bit further up. On this one here, this one uses a standard length lug, so the lug goes here, but then they use this extension because the tubes goes out to here, and then they've got threads out there, so that kind of extension like adds to the length of it. Because the tube on these things are just a little bit longer without the extension tube, a little bit longer than a standard 870. They sell them with these extension tubes, and I think they should just sell them like that without the cap, because nice flush fit on that, but compared to the muzzle, I think it looks better like that. And on the 870-1, same thing. I prefer that longer extension tube on there. Looks cooler, right? Back to the 870 not -1. So we've got a ventilated rubber butt pad here. It's got a little bit of give to it. Actually, well, it's pretty good. There's some soft spots in the middle there, so that's going to give you a little bit of cushion there. Just like a hard plastic stock on here, sling swivels, and we have a metal. Is this metal? Yes, that's metal. We have a metal rail on the top here, and that's also where they've got this little peep sight here on the back, or aperture sight, and a big bad blade on the front that's also attached to the barrel. So that's your sighting solution on this thing. Or you could remove, I guess you couldn't. No, you couldn't, because if you remove this and you're still using that barrel, that's going to be in the way. So there's no bead option with this shotgun. But again, there are ways of getting those other barrels on here. Or you could put a red dot or something like that on there, I guess. This is, again, a metal rail on this version. The pump on this one's, again, just like that, I thought it hard plastic, which is going to be durable. It's going to be fine. And controls are going to be the same thing as an 870. We got a little cross bolt safety there. We got our lock release there. Feels about the same as every 870 Express out there. I mean, it's not draggy at all, so that's nice. I haven't shot this one a heck of a lot, but why don't we try I mean, the trigger feels fine to me. There we go. Feels fine. Let's see what we got on the pull gauge here. Not that it really matters for a shotgun, like as long as it's not, you know, 12 pounds, I don't personally care that much. Just under 7 pounds, that's fine. I just did a review for the Norinco Type 81, and it was 7 pounds on its trigger. So anyway, so that's this shotgun. I like it. These are cheaper than the Remington 870 Express. So the 870 Express is basically what they're going to be competing with. These things are $400 to $500 Canadian. And the 870 Express is on sale, maybe $600, maybe more. Some of them are quite a bit more. And the Express is like the finish is nothing to write home about. Like it's the rougher version. The Wingmaster is the nicer version of the Rem 870s. But if you want like a cheaper way to get into 870 platform, this is a pretty cheap way. Or let's say you have an 870 that's really busted or rusted up and you wanted to refurb it. A lot of these parts from this thing are going to fit in there. My website, I'll show you kind of what parts I felt fit really well. So just go to the website article and it'll have those. Next, let's look at the 870-1. So this, you might not see it compared to the other one, but this stock, you have to ride on this thing quite a bit higher. And that's why they have this this rear iron sight to match up with the, now we've got a kind of a covered front sight. So now our face is quite a bit higher on this one. You could put a low mount red dot on this one and just go with that. And we've got a different pump on this one now. So instead of that that other style plastic, which is the same on the back of this one, we've got like a smoother plastic that's got the ribbed for your pleasure forend, which is a little bit easier to pump. And we've got a top rail. Now this top rail is plastic, so I wouldn't run like a big heavy optic on here, but if you wanted to run like a flashlight or something like that, it would be fine for that kind of a thing. Now on the 870, the T870, they've got a muzzle cap that has the sling swivel for the front. On this one, we've got a swivel that's attached to the side there. So there's swivel number 1, there's swivel number 2. So if you wanted to run a sling on this thing, that'd be pretty easy to do. Which, you know, for a hunting shotgun or a self-defense shotgun or something like that, slings are nice. These shotguns are all cylinder bore, so you're not really going to do a lot of hunting with them. But for self-defense or just a fun shotgun for the range, that would be fine. Or slugs, I guess, would be fine as well. And because this one is very similar to the other one, yeah, it runs just fine. And it cycles like an 870. Why don't we, just for shits and giggles, why don't we see what this trigger pulls at, which I don't expect any different than the other one, but hey, you never know. I got a couple more reps through this one. And we're the same, just under 7 pounds there, so that's pretty consistent between the two of them. Now, just for fun, how does that compare to an 870? Is this an 870? I mean, we've got a Hogue overmold pump on it. We've got a Magpul stock. We've got an extension tube on here. But yeah, it's same operating mechanism, right? This one's got a little bit more of a ring to it. I think that's the extension tube on there, though. And then for trigger pull, oh yeah, the owner of this one is left-handed. I ran into that before. I was like, what's going on with this trigger? Okay, let's see what the trigger pulls at. The safety's opposite because the owner's a lefty. And this one's pulling at 4.5. But this is, I believe this is a Wingmaster. He's got a fat Velcro card on the side here, so I can't tell if it's Express or Wingmaster, but I'm going to guess that it's a Wingmaster because it has a blued finish on there and not the crappy paint style on there. So a little bit nicer of a trigger on this, but again, if I wanted to, I could take, and I did, take this trigger group out and put it in the other shotgun and it'll work just fine. Why don't we go ahead and disassemble these things? Now, if you've ever disassembled an 870, skip forward in the video. I'll put chapters in here so you don't have to waste your time, but I just unscrewed the cap on there. The extension tube bears against a little like O-ring to give it some resistance. And then we're gonna go ahead and unlock, pull the barrel out. So there's our barrel. It's got like a cross pin in there to keep that front sight and the barrel lug on. With that off, I can pull the pump forward, reach in there, start pushing some of these things to the side, and then the pump and bolt will come off. One minor difference between this one, and I'm not sure when it would actually come into play, but the carrier is just a little bit different than the 871, which I believe means that this bolt may go on to the 870's carrier, but not the other way around, because it doesn't have, like, there's these cutouts on the arms for the pump. This pump Looks exactly the same as an 870, so I believe you could just remove, I'm not going to do it, but you could remove this guy here, pull this out, and then pop it onto another pump if you wanted to put a nicer pump on there, I guess. And I just can't be bothered. Knock these two pins out, pull the trigger group out. The trigger group's the same, so you can swap the trigger groups to an 870 or vice versa, and it's going to work just fine. If you want to remove the buttstock, which I did on mine, on this one they use plugs, so you just pry out these rubber plugs. There'll be two Phillips screws behind there. Pull the Phillips screws out, and then there's a long bolt that's flathead, and I didn't use the nut on it. I think it's like a 13 or a 15 millimeter, or just use like a big nasty flathead. Get it in there, unscrew it, and this guy pops off, and you could put on another one if you so wish. Put it back together. We're going to take our bolt and carrier. We're going to pop it on there. Gently put it on there. Guide it into the back, and then while it's in here, I'm going to push in here. I'm going to first push, is it this side? Yeah, the one on the right, then the one on the left. Come on, just going to keep pushing things until it goes in. There we go. There's these two like clips on the inside of this thing, and you just push them out of the way as you push this guy on. And then we're going to go ahead and put our barrel on, and O-ring and spring. Oh, I didn't show the follower. Let me just show you the follower just so you can see what that looks like. Hey, do you want to come up, Mr. Follower? It's just shy. And that's our follower, so it's a plastic high visibility follower. I like that. It's practical. And you can see it through the bottom. You can just see that orange there. That means that that tube's empty. Nice visual indicator. I don't really like the black ones and the metal ones. Plastic works just fine. And then let's get this guy on, making sure everything's aligned. And that's it, easy. On the 870-1, there's going to be a couple differences. There's going to be that little extension tube on here. That's going to be sitting there. And to take this top rail off, we have, it fits on a lug on there. So there's a bit of that plastic that's actually going into the front sight. And then we have two screws at the back, one Phillips and one flathead that are kind of holding on. You don't need to fully remove this one. You do need to remove that one. And then you can just kind of pop it out of there, and out she comes. This rear sight, if you wanted to, so keep in mind, these are both drilled and tapped, like everything holding this on, or holding this guy on, this is a standard rail you can get. So you could just put a metal rail on top of either of these shotguns, but that also means that their factory accessories are using those screw holes. So this iron sight, there's one screw there, and there's actually one just underneath this this spring metal here that's kind of giving us our resistance there, and then we have our two screws over here. So if you wanted to, you pull this stuff off and put a metal rail on top and run a red dot or what have you on the top there. And that's really the only difference between this shotgun and the other one. Stock comes off the same way. I actually had that Magpul stock on this shotgun when I shot 3-gun. And this is the shotgun how I set it up to shoot 3-gun. So I've got a Magpul shotgun stock on here for the 870. So the 870 stocks, at least for Magpul, work on here just fine. I have a different barrel on it. This is an 870 barrel here, and the reason I did that is because this one has chokes. The other one just had like a cylinder bore, and I needed something that would work on the steel. So that's why I've got this. I've got a TACOM? No. A crappy extension on here. To make this extension work, I needed the 870-1's extension, because without that, there's nothing for this thing to grab onto. So I'll just pull this extension off here and I'll kind of show you what I mean. So if I just put that extension on, it's got nothing to grab onto here for the barrel lug. So because this tube is just a little bit longer than usual, so that's why I need to use this extension to get me that length. So keep that in mind with their 870 non-1. You're gonna need like a tube or something to kind of go over there to give you something to bear down on with the extension tube if you want to put a different extension tube on than the one that they have. For the 870-1, the lug is near the back. The one that they give you has like these cutouts for this extension kind of like tube here, and it kind of fits in there. And that's how that one works. But if you want to, almost, if you want to put it on your 870 barrel, you will need that tube to give you something to bite down on. Actually, now that's a good time. Why don't we show some 3-gun shooting footage?
Shooter, get done, unload, show clear.
Now, in terms of that match, it didn't go well for me, but that wasn't the shotgun's fault. That was more, I had some issues with my rifle and getting it to run properly. Shotgun ran fine though, so I have really no complaints on that side. We had some Chinese 870 clones in Canada a while back. I liked having the option of an inexpensive but like durable and decent 870 clone. I'm happy that they're back in country, and I'm happy that we're going to have an option for people who want like an 870 Express but don't want to pay the extra money for just the brand name of Remington. So that's nice. If you wanted to get a cheap way into getting to the 870 platform with a couple cool things on it, including like the extension, the bigger tube on it, all that kind of stuff, maybe check out the Ternion T870s. Thanks for watching.